with all the big calls on all the big races. Welcome back. It's Friday, somewhere in the capital. That means Dave Orton here with you again for another What a Shout, the Racing Post flagship feature weekend show with our sponsors Bet365. We've got plenty of big race previews for you this weekend. We'll be looking back at some of the action. We'll be looking forward to what's to come. It's fair to say the summer's about to sizzle, isn't it? Diamond Jubilee weekend on the horizon. That means Derby and Oaks and, of course, Royal Ascot. The small matter of that coming in around about 3 weeks' time. Right, let's go down the panel for you. I'm delighted to say that the postman is back himself. The anti-postman, Robbie Wilders.
Oh, yes.
Fresh from a cut.
Yeah, got it done this morning. Alessandro done a fine job, I'd say.
I mean, I don't know if we're ready to unleash that sort of Barnet on the world, really.
You're used to me having this kind of skin fade, aren't you?
Well, I suppose that's what it is. Pat, could you imagine ever going into a bookmaker's? Pat Cooney from our sponsors, Bet365, is back. Look at the state of him.
State of it? Come on.
Yeah, well, my days of going to the barbers have long since gone, but I'm very envious.
What do you do for your Barnet then? Cut it yourself?
Listen, we're digressing. You're actually in quite good form, aren't you?
Yeah, I had a few winners as the flagship tips the other day. I've been getting a bit of stick apparently though because they're all quite short prices, but maybe punters should bear in mind that the postman might have a little say on the market.
Well, maybe. You love a 2-point. I mean, you've taken over from 10-point Tom, as we used to call him, Tom Collins.
Tom.
And you love a 2-pointer, don't you? The other boys are in your department, very reluctant to go there.
Yeah, maybe that's me trying to claw back some sort of an earlier bad run. But, well, yeah, I'm feeling confident, yeah.
Anyway, all right, you're going to give us some plays this weekend, aren't you? Which
yes.
we're looking forward to. And always interested to hear from Robbie on his insight. All the markets are up. Big day at Beverley?
Big day at Beverley, yes. We sponsor 6 of the 7 races there. We sponsored there a year ago and had a fantastic time. Crowds were allowed back a year ago. It was one of those experimental ones. And it was a terrific atmosphere, great fun, and really looking forward to be back there again. And good card, William Buick's riding there. So, yeah, look forward to it. Should be a nice day. So come up and say hello to me.
He's definitely going to be one to say hello to with an ice cream. You're right about Buick. He went to Hamilton this week, didn't he? He's definitely now, this is it. Radar on, going for it. Because we actually ran an article, you might have seen it. We said that, can anyone get close to William? You know, Holly was there, Tom, of course, you know, some of the other riders that are coming up. So I wonder whether William read that and thought, better get cracking.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got this good association now with George Bowie. And he you know, who knows, George Bowie might say, look, I'm running 4 horses. I think 2 will win, the other 2 might. And he's just keeping that scoreboard ticking along. It's all the chips are on the table, it seems, aren't they, for the title for him this time around?
Very much so. So we've had a couple of classics. What did you make of Native Trial? Of course, if you want to get involved in the chat, like and subscribe. You can do that by giving us a thumbs up. Let us know you're out there. Anything on Facebook, of course, and Twitter, hashtag What a Shout. Get involved. Let's hear from you out there. Now, who's the guest this week? Well, I'm delighted to say it's a return for one of my favourite riders out there. Shall we go to Newmarket? Because classic winning Stevie Donohoe joins us on the show.
Hey, Dave.
There he is. The sun shines in Newmarket, my man, doesn't it?
Oh, I tell you, through the window here now. Couldn't pick a better space to talk to you.
Now you've been globetrotting. Shall we just get on with the interview now, Stevie? Because our regular viewers will remember Stevie made his debut on this show in July 2020, and it was a great debut. We chatted loads and loads and loads. And you were just starting to ride then for Mr. Haggis, weren't you, William Haggis, it should be said. You went and won the John Smith's Cup later on that year on Shinjari. And then, of course, there was, I mean, that was sort of lockdown time, no crowds and stuff. You then decided to take a flight to Mauritius.
Yeah, Dave, just after all that COVID kind of time, in January I got offered a job out in Mauritius, and it just kind of, we were all uncertainty what was going to happen, if racing was really going to start kicking back in or how it was all going to pan out again. And with the way things are with the government over here, I got a good offer to go live there, live on a beach for 6 months and have an easy life and get paid for it. So I said, well, take a chance.
Absolutely outrageous. And of course, some of the tracks over there are quite interesting. I've been saying to colleagues this week, Stevie's coming back on the show, and they said, you've got to ask him about, is it Champ de Mars? Is that the track over there? Apparently it makes Chester look like Newbury, doesn't it?
Yeah, the Champ de Mars is, it is a unique track. It's the training in the morning is pretty hairy now around Champ de Mars in the mornings, but ran the race on a Saturday. I did have a few sleepless nights on a Friday night, I can tell you, but all in all, it was a good experience. It's sharp, tight and fast ground all the time.
So, and 4 rides at Chester this weekend, Pat, which you've been having a look at.
Yeah, Steve, I got the final decks through, and I thought, oh, well, you know, first race, I thought Donohoe, yeah, I could see that one winning. And you had 4 rides. I think all 4 of them have pretty good chances. And are you worried about the draw in any of them? Some are like 5, 6 and 7.
Yeah, as you say, I hate always saying the Saturday, you know, you get a good book of cards, you kind of throw the blink on it. But I do have nice rides tomorrow. The draw on Resina 3 is fine. Just trying to think off the top of my head. The other ones, I think there is one drawn out 7, the 2-year-old, whatever. But he's got gate speed. I'm not really too worried about the draw. They're not that big of fields, and it's just going to be, as you say, just jump and get a position, really, as Chester is so draw reliant. But just if I can just get a nice pitch in, nice position, I think the ability of the horses are there anyway.
From a punter's perspective, you really ought to be one of the best riders around Chester that we've ever seen. With Champ de Mars. Oh, yeah. You've been to Garrison Savannah as well, haven't you, in Barbados? That's madness.
Yeah, I done Garrison Savannah too. Yeah, my first trip around there, I made the running on the first bend, like the wall of death that is going into that first bend, but we got away with it. And I won. And then we run a jockey's challenge. And I remember saying to the lads after winning, kind of came in a bit paler, and I said, right, that's my input now, up to you lads. And I kind of dropped in on the rest of them after that.
Well, we all got absolutely sick of seeing you over there, you know, pictures of you on the beach while we were stuck in lockdown. It was a horrible time. But Stevie, let's get a little bit more serious now. Of course, you came back, and it's fair to say that you've kept one foot in Mr. Haggis's yard, haven't you? We've had William on recently, just before he went on that brilliant weekend and unleashed by Eid. And it was last Sunday, you went to Germany on what looks like a rather good horse, so we'll get a word from you on. Maljoom in the German Classic. I've seen the video. We gave him a 114 Racing Post rating. There were a couple of British horses in there to give us a steer. He looked strong at the line.
Very decent horse, Dave. Even beforehand, even before he ran, I rode him when I first, I started riding back out for William in February, and I set him before he ran at Doncaster, and I thought a lot of him by Caravaggio. Very laid back, really good mind. And, you know, in fairness to Mr. Haggis, he had this planned after he won at Kempton. And it was a messy kind of race, I thought, you know. I think he won so well and got so far back and still picked up well. I think more can be taken out of that race, because I thought he was really good at the line, really hard at the line. And I kind of half eased up when we got there, you know. So he's just very progressive, exciting.
What did that feel like, Stevie, a furlong out? Because I must admit, I was watching it at the time, and I was like, has he given this too much to do? Because the leader kept going, but then once he hit the turbo, when did you know you were going to go sailing past? And saying that you eased off, of course, that must have been quite a big relief.
I think when we kind of, I won't say I thought I gave him too much to do. I just thought the leader got a smoother run around and was able to kind of take a few lengths out. But at Cologne, it is a long straight, you know, and it's flat, and once he got him in his sight, he kind of ran for him, you know, and ran by him, and I knew then he put it to bed. But he had that acceleration of furlong and a half out to go past. I just think that, as you say, we had to sit and bide our time, and then we had to come through a bit of traffic, and then once he got out in the open and he got rocking and rolling, he done so well. But he's such a kind horse. After the line, I think he kind of had a nibble on a bush. He just was very laid back.
Your kind of horse then, I think. Well, all our kind of horse. Pat, we're thinking perhaps, I mean, you know, William's got all these crack horses now, hasn't he? And especially 3-year-olds coming out. After our show, you know, the washout shine went on him by Eid, and they all started winning, didn't they, wherever he went? St James's Palace, are we thinking next?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Godolphin's plans are with, you know, Corribus and Native Trail. But I was interested in Stevie was saying about his German Guineas winner. I was thinking, being as bred as he is, would he be one maybe drop down in trip perhaps and avoid all the big guns, or would they be happy to take all the superstar 3-year-olds on over the mile?
It's something that, you know, I wouldn't really have much of an input in, but I think he's laid back. He could get quicker. I think, though, to me, he felt he was just doing his best work at the end over that trip, you know. So I'd be interested to see myself where he goes and if he goes to St James's Palace. But he's a good progressive horse. He deserves to take his chance in a race like that.
Will you be getting the whistle on for that potentially?
I I'd like to think I'll be in with the shout, but I don't think I'll be getting on him. I imagine Tom will probably step into that place, or else My Prospero. So we'll see.
Well, My Prospero is the other one. I think that gives you a shout, man. So listen, fingers crossed, Stevie. We see you on the big stage at Royal Ascot. You certainly deserve it. Have you come across Stevie much? Because you are one of our sort of younger panellists.
No, not really.
No.
No.
But Maljoom is on your horizon. I mean, Robbie says it how it is, Stevie, but there's a link here. There's a reason why I'm going to ask you this.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Because Stevie was champion apprentice, right?
Yeah.
And was at Stouties. And then kind of became a bit more of a journeyman. He's probably throwing something at the telly now, he's saying that. But it's fair to say this has been a proper journey. You know, for an extremely talented rider, it shows you how hard it is to get in these big yards and get these rides. Now he's very much on your radar, of course. 4 big Saturday rides as well. I want to ask you about your sponsorship as well, Stevie, just before we talk about how difficult it is to keep these rides. Joe D'Souza, big day on Sunday for Notts Forest?
Yeah, I'm actually going to Nottingham Forest with Joe on Sunday and all the family and that, so it's going to be a great day. But Joe's a massive supporter of mine for years, and, you know, he's got plenty of horses and he's an avid racing fan, but he's also a massive Nottingham Forest fan who he sponsors too. So we're all settling down there on Sunday after I write some work, of course, in the morning, then onto the train and down for the day. But looking forward to it. Hopefully a big result, and, you know, really hope, because I know it's important to him and all the family. They're massive football fans.
Yeah, my brother is an avid Notts Forest fan. If he can't get a ticket, I'm going to give him your number, Stevie, because I've got a feeling you might be going somewhere quite special to watch it. Stevie, just a final word then before we move on with the rest of the show. Coming back from Mauritius, how hard was it to re-establish yourself? I mean, it's difficult, isn't it, for these kind of, you know, jockeys that don't have the big retainership, maybe top 5 Premiership jockeys, your Tom the Palm, Marquand, as you mentioned, obviously, who you know well. Even Kieran Fallon, you know, another champion apprentice, he's in Agassiz as well, isn't he?
Yeah, young Kieran's there, you know, and working hard. He's, you know, very talented rider. He's a great kid, and he's, you know, the world is at his feet at the moment with the job he has, so it's great. For me, I went away kind of on a downhill, you know, curve. So going away was sometimes it's kind of a breath of fresh air, where people you kind of get out of the radar of not just riding the one and going to the small meetings, you know. And I won't say I rejuvenated myself by no means, you know. I kind of went for my own reasons and, you know, had a break and got things in perspective, and then came back and really appreciated their racing in England. But to come back and start again and go in after a few jockeys who maybe, you know, moved in on jobs that you were working at before you left is all part and parcel of the game. You just kind of have to come back, try and graft away and give it a go. Luckily enough, you know, I came back for a few months over the winter, and I didn't really chase going into any jobs or do much over the winter. I just kind of moseyed away and got Christmas out of the way, and then I approached Mr. Haggis again and asked if there was any kind of opportunity there to come in and ride out. And, you know, I wasn't really chasing rides at the time. I just wanted to get back into the swing of it, ride some decent horses, and lucky enough he gave me that kind of opportunity, and he's really been helpful in throwing me up some decent animals the last 3 months.
I bet your agent's had to buck his ideas up, hasn't he? After Maljoom, he's probably getting calls left, right and centre now, having had a nice leisurely stroll in it.
Yeah, the agent Phil, he's based up there where Hugo Palmer is. So yesterday he said, "Oh, I finally winged the boss around to give you 3 rides tomorrow, Chester." So he's been earning his fee over the weekend after Maljoom and the Guineas. Yeah,
it's easy. Phil probably just said, "Look, he's been to Champ de Mars. We're going to get the hat trick up." All right, let's move on with the rest of the show then. It's time for big race previews coming your way. We're going to Haydock. We're going to Beverley, of course, we're Bet365 sponsor, and a big race at Chester for you. Stevie will stay for us for that before those all-important weekend winners. Right then, at last you're thinking, big race preview time, 5 coming your way. Let's get through them all. I'll do my best to keep sanity and steer us through, because we go to Haydock again. Seem to be going Haydock quite a bit at the moment, don't we? And it's the Pinnacle Stakes. This is one of these weekends, guys, isn't it, where we're waiting, obviously, for... We've had, you know, classic Group 1s and lock hinges and things like this. It's fair to say that the The John of Gaunt coming up is one of the best of races of the day. It's always a tricky puzzle, but what about this fillies race, Pat?
Yeah, the favourite at the moment is Sela Rosa of William Haggas. Hopefully Steve will give us a clue about her well-being. And there's a lot to like about her. Last year she started off winning off 77 and she ended winning off 99, so she's got that progressive profile that punters love. There's several with chances, of course. Noon Star, I was a bit disappointed with at York. I thought it pulled hard and now going up in trips, so I was a bit lukewarm about that. So the two that caught my eye really were Climate of Jessica Harrington, and the other one was Nell Quickly. Now with Climate, she's had 2 recent races at Newmarket and not really had the rub of the green both times. Been a little bit unlucky. Looks as though stepping up to 1.5 miles will be ideal. So that was in the equation. And the other one, I'm trying hard not to fancy, but I keep coming back to Nell Quickly, who's just a progressive handicapper for Dennis Coakley. And all I can say, she's around about 8-1 at the moment. But this is a horse with form figures 1-2, 1-1-1 with Holly Doyle up. So the public are bound to latch on to that. I think she's still a bit to prove on balance. So I respect Sela Rosa, but I'm quite intrigued by Climate stepping up to 12 furlongs. And of course, Jessica Harrington is always worth another tick. Yeah, some good Irish fillies have won this in the past 10 years. Right, this is where you start to earn your salts finally.
Let's have it, mate.
Let's have it from you.
I think Sela Rosa is the wrong favourite here.
Okay.
Well, I mean, she's lower rated than Noon Star and Climate, and she's not had a run this season.
The market is pointed towards her, of course, because they've been winning everything.
Just because Haggas 38% last fortnight. The fortnight before that, he's probably about 40%. Like, I think that's factored too much into the price, and I've got to take her on. Pat, I like Climate. Harrington always rated her last season. She kept bigging her up in stable tours and stuff. Took a while to come to hand, but really looks like she's kicked on this season. That was a good 4th behind Dream Loper. Yeah. She was Group 1 place last season in the Matron Stakes. I think this trip might unlock a bit more of Australia. They tend to stay quite well. She's really well bred as well. She's actually a half sister to Power, the top sire.
Yeah.
Really like her. Harrington does well in Britain. Should be a bit more to come as well, I'd say.
With James Doyle on, I have to say, when she caught my eye in the Dahlia as well, and I thought I'm going to stick with her. So she'll do for me, worryingly, as well. So let's go to Stevie now. Do you know anything about this favourite, Stevie? And are we all just going to be playing for places, or?
To be honest, I tell you the truth, I've not sat in her home. I haven't had much to do with her, unfortunately. I see that she says she won the all-weather. She hasn't run for a while, but the horse are in great order. As I flick through the race, I agree with a lot what Pat and say there. You know, Climate, I thought was the horse for me in the race. Now quickly with Holly, it is progressive, has probably improved again, but it has it in its locker. Lady Hayes, I thought was interesting too. I thought variance filly. So yeah, I think it's a warm rate.
If there was one that might bounce back, and I'm sensing a Tom Segal price-wise here, it could be Invite. I know Tom really likes that horse.
Yeah, I really liked her last season as well, but shown next to nothing at all in 2 starts.
Yeah, she'll probably get a ground though. She will bounce back at some point. It's Balding, isn't it? So anyway, this is an interesting race. Let's move on to the 3:30, the John of Gaunt. I've covered this race so many years in a row now. It is always a tricky puzzle because Kinross won it last year, but he had 2 runs going into it. That was as a 4-year-old. They worked out, they sort of brought him back in trip a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah.
He needs soft ground. James Doyle on, probably head the market. Sunray Major will come to Robbie. I know it's a horse that you've had some business with in the past. Then you've got your solid ones like Happy Power, who, massive confidence boost last time at Leicester. Won on the bridle with Mickey Mouse race, but, he's got some all right Chester form. You've got the likes of Spycatcher who's on the up, Pogo as well. What's the market saying? Who will go off outright favourite?
Well, tricky. The very fact Frankie's there at Haydock would suggest to me Sunray Major may go off favourite, but he's a half-brother to Kingman, isn't he? So I'm sure they're trying to establish him as a group-winning horse. But he got beat on his reappearance in a Group 2, and then I thought bizarrely they upped him to a Group 1 in the Lockinge against Baid. These are calmer waters now, aren't they? A Group 3. I'm not sure. Has he just been overfaced, or is he just beginning to look a little bit disappointing? So I'm not really sure with him. Kinross, I think you have to like, and because he won the race last year, Rafe Beckett's horses are in good order. He's bound to have mapped this race out as his #1 objective for this part of the year. And I thought he was very unlucky in a couple of his other races later on in the season. But, you're asking me to back one of them at 3 evens coupled. Would I want to have the others or those 2? I might rather have the others, really. The one I'm intrigued by is Lanikash of Roger Varian, who was always a well-regarded horse. They had sort of Group 1 aspirations with him. Disappointing, again, yes, but he has been gelded since last year.
He's interesting because with the streamlining of Shadwell,
yes,
this is one that might have been shipped off. There's some that you have been shipped off. Thought, well, they could have kept hold of that one. He's good.
Yeah, a lot have been up for sale, but this one's been gelded. So there must be a degree of faith still in the horse on a slimmer operation. So he's an intriguing one. How he'll go in the market remains to be seen, though. But there's more negatives than positives about the front runners, I thought.
Yeah, the dead eight, I think Happy Power is probably the safest conveyance, but he will need them to underperform.
Yeah, so exposed though, Happy Power, run 29 times, and you've got a lot of horses in here who barely run 10 times.
Are you sticking with SUNRAY, Major?
No, I don't like SUNRAY. I mean, the step down trip's interesting because he's not really finished his races.
Correct, yes. At Sandown in particular.
Yeah, tends to travel quite well, not really find much and kind of fade out of things. I mean, he's going to win a good race eventually, but I think there are a couple. I like Lanakash as well for the same reasons. Interesting, he's been kept on by Shadwell, and of course on his return last season, he nearly won the Hungerford Stakes Group 2 at 22 to 1. He's only run 6 times. Could be much more to come. I just feel like it's quite a weird race, isn't it? Really, because it's kind of like sprinters either stepping up or milers dropping down.
Yeah.
But I think Kinross is rock solid. Really, I mean, he's got very good.
He is. The market will tell everything with him, I think.
Yeah.
Because, Champions Day sprint on his last start, they're never really going to be for him. And, of course, that Space Blues form at Longchamp, that would win this race.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not quite Group 1 class, but, I mean, I think he needs a bit of an ease in the ground, and I noticed it's dried out to good, actually, so that'd be a slight concern for me.
Right, we've all rambled on. Stevie, did one catch your eye here? If you could sit on any of them?
I agree. Kid Kinross looks the horse for me. Trying to find something else in that race. I was looking through, and the horse I kind of thought was Pogo might have a chance to maybe run back up. I know he flattened in Maidan on dirt, and that's kind of what I thought. But I think I had him down for second to Ben Battle last year, and that I thought, he's probably not, out of it at a decent price.
I think he's the only front runner as well.
That's interesting. And Pogo's also I know a bit about. I backed him when he was second in the Hunt Cup, and I've followed him ever since.
Yeah.
And Charlie Hills keeps telling the media, people like us, that this guy is going to be better as he gets older. He needs to start performing, doesn't he?
I've not gelded him yet.
Yeah.
He's the only front runner, and we know he stays a bit further than 7 furlongs, so he might make it a real test. That'd be quite interesting.
An intriguing puzzle then. There's 2 races for you at Haydock. John Gaunt, who wins? Get your comments in below. We love reading those as the weekend goes on. We must go up to Beverley now. It's the Brian Yeardley, as it's called, the Bet365 2-year-old trophy condition stake. Some good horses have followed up at Ascot, haven't they?
Yeah, 2016 Prince of Lear won this for Robert Cowell, and you're thinking, that's Beverley for me. Good luck at Royal Ascot, but I don't think so. But he went on and won the Norfolk Stakes, so there's some pretty fast horses tend to rock up for this, and they wouldn't be without a chance at the Royal Ascot venue, that's for sure.
There's a good bet in this, I think, to my eye, and it's Chateau, who was an eye catcher on its debut. You've gone for that?
Highlighted in yellow, yeah.
Oh.
And
I'll be hoping you'll be giving the prize to Will Buick, Andrew Balding and Connections. They've got a line on Whistle and Flute. Is your current favourite, I think?
Yeah, Whistle and Flute is a solid favourite. He was second at Ascot to a decent horse, and the third's come out and won since. He brings that. All the time people in the office say, he's the fastest horse in the race, which is all well and good, and I respect his chances. But with Chateau, you have to say he was desperately unlucky on his debut. Now, there was only 5 run. How can you be unlucky in a 5-runner race? But he definitely was, and the form looks good. He showed a good attitude, drawn 4. He's got a bit to find on form, but you could certainly mark him up as 3 or 4 lengths better than his debut would suggest, and he's going to improve anyway.
Yeah.
There's a few others to consider. Rogue Spirit's an interesting one for Tom Clover, and that one here landed a gamble from stall 1 when he won here, but he won, and I read he's been gelded since. So that sounds a bit harsh, doesn't it? You win and you get gelded, but anyway, so he's very much in the equation. But I keep coming back to Chateau, that eye-catching run. If you haven't seen the debut, then you'd have despaired watching it if you backed it.
Yeah, and like I say, they've got the line on the favourite. I've seen the favourite in the flesh. I was there that day at Ascot, and Whistle and Flute's quite a good-looking horse. And we know what they did with Chipotle last year. These guys, he might go on, but I think Chateau at the prices for me. I said there was a bet, and you didn't think it was the one I
saw Andrew Balding last season win a good juvenile race with a maiden. Nymphadora won at York as a maiden.
St Albans
not really relevant, is it? But
well, it kind of is.
I thought Whistle and Flute was a little bit short. I mean, you can never go into these juvenile races when we know so little about them with maximum confidence. But maybe people are reading too much into that Chipotle kind of link, I think.
Yeah, there was another eye catcher in the race on his debut. It's Corporate Raider as well. And Danny Tudhope takes the ride for Robert Cowell, who trained Prince of Lear.
Yep.
Robert likes to run his good 2-year-olds here, so the outside of the field, maybe not to be sniffed at. Stevie?
Look, it's Beverley, and as I say, it's always a tricky race, these type of race, at this track over that trip. I thought, how you talk about Chateau, I watched his replay there earlier on. I didn't see him the day he ran. He got a bad bump coming out of the gates, and then he kind of came through the race and had to switch a couple of times in and out. But I thought, he ran okay. Whistling Flute, yeah, good form. But yeah, out of the mud, I thought Chateau. But it's a tricky race for me. It is a tricky race. Then
Two questions for you, Stevie, if you don't mind. Two questions. Beverley, it is definitely one of the stiffest flat courses we've got, isn't it?
It is. They say it starts down that kind of dip, that 5 furlong, and there's a lot of dog walkers at dip Beverley, and they let their dogs do their business. So you don't get more than kickback in a race like that.
You wouldn't get that Champ de Mars, would you? That's for sure.
I'll bear that in mind when I'm walking the course tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you are constantly, as you approach that bend, I've been there, and I couldn't believe how stiff it was. You can't really see it from the cameras when you're watching at home.
And the bend, they've had a bit of issues the other day. They got abandoned the other day. They said they were slipping.
Yeah.
They moved. Yeah, so it's tight and sharp, but it's mad. I know we keep going on about me riding in Mauritius, but I've actually come back with a completely different outlook on English track. So to me, it's not too bad as it was beforehand.
It's an absolute life surprise. I mean, you had the beach over there, but then the wall of death, of course, to ride on. It must have been an absolute catch-22 situation. You mentioned there about Chateau getting a bump early on, and I spoke to you about this before, but punters might like to do about it. Is that one of the worst things that can happen to you on a 2-year-old newcomer? Coming out in a messy start. Do you think that your races sometimes run before the final, the first furlong?
Well, it's not that. It's just for first time out, and he's come out of the gates, and he's actually got a bump. And it's like you as a runner. If you're going to run and someone comes upside you and gives you an elbow into the guts, it's going to knock your whole kind of zinc out of play. And I just think that would have had an effect. But he looked like he got back into the swing of it. But what he had left at the end, I think he stayed the one pace at the end. And the others kind of battled away, and I thought he was under tender riding. So I think if it jumps smooth, as I'm saying, Beverley, it's a tricky track. You're going to have to jump to get position, and just once that first time out doesn't affect him, and he jumps on terms and straight, he could be okay. But it's one of them races. I look at these, and it's just so tricky. I think that you have to be battle hard, right type of frame of horse. Get in a position, and then as you say, stay good too.
All right, OK, so that's Beverley done. Interesting insight there from leading rider Stevie Donohoe on how to avoid the kickback at Beverley. That's one of the highlights you get with Stevie. You never know what you're going to get. The final race that we're going to preview for you this weekend is the 3:45 at Chester. Oh, yes, I love this race. It is the 3:45. It's extended 7. And Boardman, last year's winner, another £5 on his back. Stevie, you've got what will be a very fancied runner here in Fool's Rush in, who prepped at the track last time, led for a long way, looked like he just needed it. Stall 5, you must fancy your chances.
Yeah, look, it's a great ride to pick up. Fool's Rush in. Hugo's had a run around there recently there. He led, good soft ground, and he only got caught the last furlong, He's won around there twice as well, so he's got course form. He's run plenty around there. I thought that they're making the favourite Boardman, I think, is it? Just ahead of him, and he beat him a neck, There's a rocket load of speed on my outside, I think, Anzano, and he looks okay. So I just be planning just to jump out, get a nice pitch. Hopefully that goes on and, pick it up straight. I don't know if he done too much last time, my horse, but he looked okay. But he has the run under his belt, so, yeah.
There we go. You're not going to get a better preview of that than the race. And hopefully we can weigh in here, because my nap runs in this race.
Please.
I'm going to take the floor if you don't mind. And obviously we've got the nap section coming up for you, but I'm just going to get it out of the way. And Stevie, I love you, man, but I'm really hoping that you're just going to give me a lead until about the half-hour. Because This Is Us, the veteran, you like this as well?
Not today, but I think he's going to win one of these soon.
Well, you've mugged up a bit, because this is the bet in the race. This is the only bet in the race. OK, he's in stall 3. Andrea Azzini takes the ride again. Happy days. Yes, I know he ran no sort of race at Newbury last time. I'm happy to forgive that. These old horses can easily have an off day. They tend to be sort of Oxo horses. If you go back to his Haydock form with Boardman, where he looked like he was going to pull it out for a long way. He's much better off at the weights with that chap now. He's never missed a frame, never missed a beat in any of his 4 or 5 runs at Chester. He loves Chester. If he gets a sound surface and a proper pace to aim at, which Stevie's nicely going to set up for us, this is a ridiculous price of.
Well, he's round about 7 to 1 at the moment, and you couldn't say he won't, could you? He's just got that profile where he will pop up and win one race this season. This may well be it. Boardman is favourite. He won well last time out. Perhaps he was a bit unlucky behind Fool's Rush In when they were 4th and 5th the time before. But he won the race a year ago, so it's a good place to start to make him favourite. Whether he's a bet at around about 2 to 1, that's another story altogether. I thought Fool's Rush In has a perfectly decent chance, provided they get the run of the race. So there's Tom Free, another one that could make the run in, and he made the run in at York last week, so I'm pretty sure he'll try and make it at Chester. It looks like being one of these fast and furious gallops, and it could come down to luck in running. But I thought Fool's Rush In had a solid profile.
I'm a Boardman fan. He definitely has improved this year, and obviously he likes it because he won the race last year, as we know. He's a 6-year-old. He used to be a flying. But from stall 2, I'd be a bit worried about that because he's a horse that does need to angle out. So, coming around the top bend, you're going to be looking for behind the sofa, I think. Final word from Robbie Wilders.
I like the This Is Us case, actually, because he just never runs well at Newbury, does he?
I've talked you into it.
A little bit. He's been on my radar. He wasn't going to be on main selection, but I might have a saver on him. And the fact that he's £6 better off with Boardman as well.
That's it.
He's going to pop up.
What is the main selection?
I think, Azarno for me. This is the first time he's run a handicap in his last 8 starts. He ran a blinder on his comeback last season on his return behind Toro Striker, went on and won a Group 3, and Mutakeo, who won a really good handicap at Newmarket off a massive weight, I seem to remember.
And you're not worried about the fact that Stevie thinks he might be, trying to press it?
Nah.
Not at all.
Well, minorly, yeah, but I just think that record fresh, and I just really like David O'Mara with his horse. Once he's had a horse for a year or so, he tends to really kick on. And 102 or 103 is it? Sorry. I mean, he's probably not got loads in hand off that mark, but I think he's probably going to run his race.
So there's your final big race preview for you. Wilders is going for one that Stevie's not riding. Pat, you are going for Stevie's horse, aren't you?
Yeah, Fool's Rush In, I think is solid.
So you'll be at Beverley at 3:45, and as Stevie passes the post in front, he'll be thinking, yes, I've beaten Dave Orton's nap, and that Wilders boy, he never had a chance. Happy days. There are your big race previews. Nap time here on What a Shout this weekend. Will it be Haydock or will it be Chester? Will it be somewhere completely different? Obviously, you know where mine is, 3:45. Oh, This Is Us. For those of you that just go to the naps, I gave a pretty interesting case about that in one of Stevie's races at 3:45. We'll leave Stevie to last. I think the veteran's going to win. Your best bet of the weekend was?
Best bet of the weekend, not on the ITV, not on the box. It's on Racing TV, but you'll be able to watch it on Bet365, I understand. 4 o'clock at Navan. A 1 mile 2 furlong handicap. Good little race, actually. Highly rated horse called Sun King, Aidan O'Brien, good maiden winner last time, is the favourite for it. But I think that Sir Antonino is going to reverse form. He's got 6 lengths to find for a maiden defeat last time, but that was his first run. Sir Antonino still has the Irish Derby entry. He's really well bred. He's out of Cheveley Park 4th. But his maiden form last season looks really good. I mean, he ran a good race behind New Energy. He's obviously come out and finished second in the Irish 2000 the other day. Good second, Star of India, won the D Stakes, obviously Derby contender now. He's only run off 84, and I think he's opened up at about 10 to 1 with one firm. So, yeah, I think he'll run really well. Sir Antonino.
It was almost like he was writing at the same time, wasn't it? I wondered when he was going to stop. And you're
really
getting the hang of this sponsorship lot now, aren't you? You actually mentioned our sponsors once. The tide is turning. Happy days. Pat, knock us out a winner.
Yeah, well, I've spent longer looking at the Beverley card since we sponsor it, and I'm going to be there. So I quite like the idea in the 240, number 4, Wob Wob Wob, trained by the very capable Adrian Keatley. And this horse, he was 8th of 22 last time, over 6 furlongs. At York in a Class 2, only beaten 4 lengths. I thought, likeable run. Handicap has dropped at £1. And I think Beverley 7 will suit him well. He's one win from 6 at 6, 2 wins from 9 at 7. So Beverley is a good setup for him. I think the Buick horse will be favourite, make the market for him, that Kubler trains it. But Wob Wob Wob, I think has a solid profile and will get a good ride as well. And goes very close.
Blast out of the gates. All right.
That's what my nan calls me, Wob.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Well, there we go.
I mean, that's really not interesting
Wobbie.
whatsoever. But we'll go with
Called me
it.
it the other day.
I mean, you've dealt with us buffoons this far, Stevie. I'm delighted to say that you're nearly about to go back out with your normal day's routine. But before you do, we must get your best ride of the day.
Yeah, my best ride of the day. I think I've got some good rides tomorrow, as I said earlier on. But I think my first ride for William Haggis seems to be my best ride of the day. Rosina, she won first time out in Newbury. She's been going well at home. I don't think the race didn't go to plan really last day at Newcastle. She didn't get a clear run through, and Tom unfortunately had to kind of wait a couple of strides. It looked competitive on paper, and I just think that, you know, hopefully around Chester tomorrow, she should handle it perfect and just slot in. Hopefully win.
Straightforward stuff from Stevie Donohoe then. What a pleasure. 4 for you this weekend. Well, what an enjoyable time we've had on this week's What a Shout. Time to sign off. Stevie Donohoe, absolute sun shining in Newmarket. We will let you go. It's great to have you back on the show, Stevie. I hope we can do some more with you as the year goes on. You really get the feeling that you're back in an extremely good place. Congratulations again on your classic win in Germany. It's not the only classic you've got under your belt, though.
No, yeah, the Mauritian Derby last year was another big day, wasn't it? So for all my people who follow me around the world.
I bet you had some party after that, didn't you? Talking of classics, obviously with the Derby on the horizon, we've seen that Sir Michael Stoute has come back with a bang this season. Of course, he's got Desert Crown heading the market at the moment. Has one caught your eye in any of the trials? If you could jump on one.
But look, you'd have to go for Sir Michael's, you know, won the Dante, you know, and such a good record in the race. I just thought he'd done it so easy, so well. You hear the whispers, you know, that there's going to be more supplemented in. There's some rockets at home, but no, at the moment, yeah, it'd have to be Sir Michael's horse. I'd be putting my leg over if I could.
Wow. All right, Stevie, absolutely fantastic stuff. Now, what does the rest of the weekend hold? Obviously, you're going to Chester. What about today? No rides, of course, on Friday. Are you going to be getting back on the Ferrari?
Might take the Ferrari out now in a minute, Dave, yeah. Going to have to start it up. Normally, them kind of engines take a bit of time to warm up before they cut my grass, so get it all revved up.
For anyone who wonders what on earth we're talking about, every time I speak to Stevie, he's about to jump on this bad boy. Let's get the image up on the screen. There it is. Look, that is the Ferrari. Looks like it could do with a fence, doesn't it?
Good bit of kit, that.
Have you ever sat on one of those?
No, I've not been privileged to have a garden that warrants having such a mechanism.
If you keep putting your 2 points up and they keep winning, I can see that coming your way.
I'll stick with the balcony for now.
Well, there you go, Robbie. It's been great to have you back
Yeah,
on. We're going to see a bit more of you over the next couple of weeks, aren't we?
So. Look forward
Pat,
to it.
good stuff. You'll be doing, of course, next Thursday. I should let you know we're going to do What a Shout, because we're going to cram in the Oaks card and the Derby as well.
Yeah, very much so. And it's not just the highlight, the Derby and the Oaks next week. I'm off to Perth on the Sunday as well for a jump race in there, and that is a fantastic venue as well. So Beverley and then Perth. What could be better than that?
You absolutely love it, don't you? Great stuff. And we absolutely love having you watching. Thanks very much then. Myself, Dave Orton, signing off. Don't forget, of course, to download the free must-have Racing Post app. You can do that on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Don't forget to gamble responsibly this weekend, please. That's our MO here on What a Shout and at Bet365. Great stuff. Enjoy the weekend, guys.